So good afternoon everyone. So this is the continuation of report of the topic solid and hazardous waste. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of burning or burying solid waste? But now let us tackle first the burning solid waste has advantages and disadvantages. So in burning solid waste, it uses incinerator. So what is incinerator? Incinerator is an apparatus for burning waste material, especially industrial waste, at high temperature until it is reduced to ash. So this is the sample picture of an incinerator. So globally, it is burned in more than 800 large waste to energy incinerators. It uses the heat that they generate to boil water and make steam for heating water or interior spaces or for producing electricity. So, advantages and disadvantages of using incinerators to burn solid waste. So, there are four advantages of using incinerators to burn solid waste. The first one is that incinerator reduces trash volumes, it produces energy, it concentrates hazardous substances into ash for burial, and the last one is that it is sale of energy reduces cost. So there are also four disadvantages of using incinerators. The first one is that it is expensive to build. It produces hazardous waste. It emits some carbon dioxide and other air pollutants. And lastly, it encourages waste production. So burying solid waste has advantages and disadvantages. In the United States, about 67% of all MSW by weight is buried in sanitary landfills compared to 80% in Canada, 15% in Japan, and 4% in Denmark. There are two types of landfills. The first one is sanitary landfills. Sanitary landfills is a solid waste that are spread out in thin layers, compacted and covered daily with a fresh layer of clay or plastic foam. This process helps to keep the material dry, reduces leakage of contaminated water from the landfill. It also lessens the risk of fire, decreases odors, and reduces accessibility to the landfill for rats and other vermin. The second one is open dump. Open dump is essentially a field or large pit where garbage is deposited and sometimes burned. Open dumps are rare in more developed countries but are widely used near major cities in many less developed countries. China disposes of much of its rapidly growing mountains of solid waste, mostly in rural open dumps or in poorly designed and poorly regulated landfills that do not have most of the features of sanitary landfills. Using sanitary landfills to dispose solid waste has also advantages and disadvantages, just like burning solid waste. So, the first advantage of using sanitary landfills to dispose solid waste is the first one, low operating cost, can handle large amount of waste. Filled land can be used for other purposes, and the last one is that no shortage of landfill space in many areas. There are also disadvantages. The first disadvantage the advantages of using sanitary landfills is that it is noise, traffic, and dust. It releases greenhouse gases, methane, and carbon dioxide unless they are connected. Output approach that encourages waste production. The last one is that it is eventually leaks and can contaminate groundwater. How should we deal with hazardous waste? So, So we can use integrated management of hazardous waste. So integrated management of hazardous waste produce less hazardous waste. It changed industrial processes to reduce or eliminate hazardous waste production. It recycle and reuse hazardous waste. So it convert to less hazardous or non-hazardous substances. Natural decomposition, incineration, thermal treatment, chemical, physical, and biological treatment, and the last one is that dilution in air or waste. Put in perpetual storage. These are the landfill, underground injection wells, surface impoundments, and underground salt formations. Case study. So recycling e-waste. Electronic waste, commonly known as e-scrap or e-waste, is the trash we generate from surplus, broken, and obsolete electronic devices. E-waste or electronics recycling is the process of recovering material from old devices to use in new products. In some countries, workers in e-waste recycling operations, many of them are children, are often exposed to toxic chemicals as they dismantle the electronic trash to extract its valuable metals or other parts that can be sold for reuse or recycling. So, recycling e-waste has an approach. First is prevention. So, prevention is an approach through which electrical and electronic products would be designed to be produced and easily repaired, remanufactured, or recycled without the use of toxic materials. So, we can detoxify hazardous waste. The first step in dealing with hazardous waste is to collect them. So there are three methods to detoxify waste. The first, the physical, the chemical, and biological methods. Physical methods for detoxifying hazardous waste includes using charcoal or resins to filter out harmful solids, distilling liquid waste to separate out harmful chemicals, and precipitating such chemicals from solution. Chemical methods are used to convert hazardous chemicals to harmless or less harmful chemicals through chemical reactions. Biological methods for treatment of hazardous waste to be the wave of the future. There are also approaches in detoxifying waste. There is first the bioremediation approach. It is an approach in which bacteria and enzymes help to destroy toxic or hazardous substances or convert them to harmless compounds. The second one is phytoremediation approach. This approach involves using natural or genetically engineered plants to absorb, filter, and remove contaminants from polluted soil and water. Various plants have been identified as pollution sponges that can be used to help clean up soil and water contaminated with chemicals such as pesticides, organic solvents, and radioactive or toxic metals. What is plasma gasification? So plasma gasification is a technology that uses arcs of electronic energy to produce very high temperatures in order to vaporize trash in the absence of oxygen. 16.5. How should we deal with hazardous waste? So, we can store some forms of hazardous waste. Ideally, we should use burial on land or long-term storage of hazardous and toxic waste in secure vaults only as a third and last resort after the first two priorities have been exhausted. Currently, however, burial on land is the most widely used method in the United States and in most countries, largely because of its lower cost. There are two common forms of burial. The first one is a deep well disposal. It is in which liquid hazardous waste are pumped under high pressure through a pipe into dry, porous rock formations far beneath aquifers that are tapped for drinking and irrigation water. The second form of burial is the surface impoundment. So it is some liquid hazardous waste are stored in lined ponds, pits, or lagoons. So injecting liquid hazardous waste into deep underground wells has advantages and disadvantages as well. So the advantages of this is that it's safe if sites are chosen carefully. Waste can often be retrieved. Low cost. So disadvantages of this is that it leaks can occur from corrosion of well casing, emits carbon dioxide and other air pollutants. Output approach that encourage waste production. Storing liquid hazardous waste in surface impounds has advantages and disadvantages as well. The advantages of this is that it is low cost. Waste can often be retrieved. Can store waste indefinitely with secure double liners. It also has disadvantages. The first one is that water pollution from leaking liners and overflows. The air pollution from volatile organic compound, and the last one is that output approach that encourages waste production. So grassroots action has led to better solid and hazardous waste management. In the United States, individuals have organized grassroots, bottom-up citizen movements to prevent the construction of hundreds of incinerators, landfills, treatment plants for hazardous and radioactive waste, and polluting chemical plants in or near their communities. So we can encourage the people to, to reuse and recycling. Three factors hinder reuse and recycling. First, the market prices of almost all products do not include the harmful environmental and health costs associated with producing or using and discarding them, as a violation of the full cost pricing principle of sustainability. Second, the economic playing field is uneven because in most countries, resource extraction industries receive more government tax breaks and subsidies than reuse and recycling industries get. The third, the demand and thus the price paid for recycled materials fluctuates mostly because it is not a highly priority for most governments, businesses, and individuals to buy goods made of recycled materials. Reuse, recycling, and composting present economic opportunities. For many, recycling has become a business opportunity. Upcycling or recycling materials into products of a higher value is a growing field. Entrepreneurs see upcycling as an area of great economic opportunity, and it represents a golden opportunity for those interested in creating or expanding in their positive environment impact. So that is my report all about. Thank you for listening, and once again, good afternoon.